So what you don't know is before I turned on the recorder, I was fanboying uh, my next guest. I'm so excited in doing research and learning about this young woman. I just am so excited about what we're about to share. Susan Sharp is an abstract artist. Her art has been featured on TV shows such as Orange is the New Black. She is writing a new children's book called Farty Boys, which is a whole other podcast. She's a trainer, she's a teacher, she's a professional speaker who is really focused on bringing out people's passions, their potentials, and their motivations, and helping them get done what they want to get done. But the reason she's on the show today is she authored a book called Midlife Wisdom, Looking Back and Moving Ahead. And we're going to talk about this really exquisite book that I wish I wrote, but we're going to make available to you so you get to use it. Susan, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Every once in a while, I love my guests. And when I realize what I get to bring to the people who are listening to us right now, I get so excited. My heart just bursts open because I wish everybody get to know you. I wish everybody will buy your book. I wish everybody will sit down and curl up with a glass of wine or a cup of tea and really dive in. So thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much. You just made my day. I just want that kind of accolades every morning.
Well, this will be recorded, so you can just play this piece right now. How great is Susan, right? What you can make it your alarm when you wake up. Susan's amazing. You just go start your day that way. And by the way, if anybody wants me to record that, I will record a "You're an Amazing" intro for your alarm clock every day. Susan, how did you come up with this? What got you to, because you have so many other things you're doing, like you're just a Renaissance woman, but this particular thing was something that vibed with you strongly. What made you write the book and explore this topic?
Well, I found that there's not, well, at least when I started to write the book, there wasn't a lot of great things about midlife out there. If you Googled midlife, it always wanted to autocomplete as crisis. And yet,
right?
And yet I think most people don't go through a crisis. I think we go through a revolution or a transformation of some sort. And that's a real phenomenon. But in terms of crisis, I didn't feel like I was having a crisis. I was in a career as a theater professor that I had outgrown probably 5 to 10 years earlier. And I was working with millennials.
You were in a career that you had outgrown 5 to 10 years earlier.
Yeah.
Like how many people can relate to, oh, wait, I was done a long time ago.
Yeah, and I tried to reinvent myself, and I all of these plays I always thought I could write, I did, and then I would stage them, and that got me through 5 years, and then I just said enough is enough, and I didn't really have a plan. And so for all of those people out there who wake up one day and say, I cannot take one more day of my brain-sucking, soul-sucking job. If you need permission to walk away, here it is. And I walked away without a real plan, I have to tell you. Financially, I was not in the right place. I didn't have it all worked out. I just knew that staying was no longer an option. And so I walked away. And thus began my journey into self-employment. But I was always doing so many things along the way. And I just felt like as I was navigating, especially the work portion, as someone who's sort of a workaholic, I didn't find a lot out there that was helping me navigate. And what was out there was very much about, oh, you must have all your ducks in a row before you leave, and you have to guard your pension. And I'm a free spirit. I'm an artist. I was like, screw that. I just have to leave. And so I left without a plan, but even more so, I decided to write the book that I needed to read. And that was part essays from my own life, which makes it sort of a unique format, and then about 60% journal. And I'm not really a big journaler. I have to admit that. I'm trying to sell a journal, but I don't really journal. But in this regard, journaling helped me greatly work through those things that only people in midlife, are dealing with. You're dealing with maybe children and aging parents. So you have two spectrums that you're taking care of, or maybe you're on a second, third marriage. Maybe you've had 4 careers, and there's a lot to navigate. And I just thought it's got to be more than a self-help book. I wanted to write something where people help themselves, not so much.
Which is the only thing that actually, the criticisms of all my programs is, Mark, your programs are too much work. I'm like, I'm sorry, but transformation, change, growth, evolution, it's going to take work. So yeah, you could write a book of everything you went through, and that's lovely, but
Right.
you're handing them the manual to go build it themselves.
And that's what's not out there. There's not books like that for midlifers that I have found that are out there. And as you said, my advice isn't going to work for everybody. So it's like when you go to IKEA and you buy all of the organizational stuff and you get it home and you're like, why doesn't this work for my house? Because it doesn't fit your stuff, right? It's not designed for the unique stuff that you have in your home.
Oh, just everything that you say is everything that I talk about. But gosh, you said so much that the words just are fighting to come out of my mouth to address everything that you had to say. As far as like the midlife thing, when you said that people autocorrect to midlife crisis, right? I think the crisis happens because we don't listen to that whisper the 5 or 10 years before.
Mm.
So not only is there like getting your financial ducks in a row, that getting your family, there's oh, let me do the exploration and the internal thought process of what evolving would be. And I think the crisis comes when we ignore it. I think
Mm.
the crisis comes when we don't pick up a book like your journal, and do some introspection to see what that voice is telling us. Because it's not all quit your job. It's not all we have to get out of this marriage. It's not all we have to blow everything up. But we're afraid that it is, so we don't listen.
Well said.
And it could be, I want to do my job differently. I'm not enjoying the way I'm doing it now. I'm climbing the ladder for ambition's sake, and that's soul sucking. Climbing the ladder is not soul sucking. Climbing the ladder for the extrinsic validation is, right. So now let's look at our motivations, and that's what your journal does. Okay, so can you give me some examples of some of the introspection that you prompt people for?
Well, each day in the journal sections, I try to get people to reflect on their day. And so I ask 2 questions for every journal prompt, which is, how was I fulfilled today? Hoping to get people to look back and find the things that sort of really, are their jet fuel. What
Define fulfilled.
um, Emotionally, financially, what filled you up that day, that really got you excited and motivated? That was sort of, I talk about your core motivating beliefs, and what is that thing that really drives why you do what you do? Because we all know that we have causes and things, hobbies, that it doesn't matter what time of the day it is, we'll do it because it brings so much joy to our lives. It fulfills us in a way. And so what are those things that you noticed in your day that fulfilled you? And
So
that's a
an
very,
example for me was my son's girlfriend flew in from Texas, and we all met at this pizza place that we always meet at the same every Wednesday night. And I had my 2 sons, my partner, and my son's girlfriend. And when I came home, I could cry. I said to my partner, I said, I'm going to remember that night for the rest of my life. And he's like, why? We just went out for pizza. I'm like, I don't know. That for me, that was just the start of a new chapter of having adult children, having my son's girlfriend there was just, and the relationship between them all, and us all meeting at the place just felt so fulfilling. My heart is filled. So when you talk about fulfillment, is what, because very, very few of us stop during the day. If I say, are you fulfilled? Most of the people who I work with would, before I work with them, would look at me like a dog hearing a strange sound. Fulfillment, I don't even think about that. I'm just trying to get through the day, right?
right.
It's like that's a chick thing, right? And what the truth is, it's what life is.
It really is. And I definitely have a woman's voice in the book. I can't change that about myself, but I I I don't think it's I don't feel like it's a book for women. I think it's a book for midlifers, whether you're male or female. So I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, stopping and thinking about that. So if we're not doing it during the day, maybe at the end of the day you can ask, what fulfilled me? And again, it's an intentional question because so many of us stayed in a career too long or never had the right career. You did something at the time because it fit with your family, your need for income or whatever, but maybe it's never fulfilled you. And so by getting you aware of what fulfills you, you can start to make that separation if you need to. And then the other question I ask is, how was I kind to myself today? And it's, you know,
I love these questions because I could just see so many people going, kind to myself. Who even thinks of these things? But again, it's life.
it is, and you know, nobody's going to love us if we don't love ourselves. And that self-love component is a hard thing. I think it's hard for either gender because you you deflect sometimes. For women, we're prone to taking care of everybody else but ourselves, and we'll get to ourselves last. Uh, Men might focus on providing or thinking about their day-to-day things and not really thinking about the internal stuff.
I
So,
think a lot of men spend a lot of time not getting caught falling short, not
oh
getting
yeah,
found out for falling short.
yeah, and that feeling of inadequacy is really fear. That's not a great engine in life. That doesn't drive you very far before you burn up that engine.
It does drive you, and it drives you to a certain place. It doesn't drive you all the way, and that's why midlife is when you're something inside is saying that fuel you were using, we're running out of it. We got to source from something else. And I love the book because now it starts to show you that there is an infinite source, there is an infinite supply. It's not what you thought it was. Let me show you how to find it.
Yeah, that well said. So my hope is that even though, again, I'm not a journaler and I sort of talk about feeling like a fraud, I feel like sort of a little bit of a fraud for writing a journal when I'm not a journaler, but it helped me in my time of transition into new work, new thinking, expansive thinking bigger than I've ever thought before.
Give me one of the most profound things, one of the most profound exercises for you from the book.
I ask you to think about what's fun. Go ask a 10-year-old what's fun, and then do that for a day. And when I did that, I was blown away because it's so simple for them. It is not muddied. What is fun for a 10-year-old? All right, to pick an age, it really doesn't matter, but it needs to be more of an age of innocence, right?
Oh,
Where they're not,
yeah, no, it's got to be somewhere between 5 and 10.
yeah.
I'm totally with you. Once we get to 11, we're starting to worry about how we look, what gel we need to put in our hair, and yeah.
Yeah. And when you boil it down to what's fun, kids know what they're good at. You ask a kid what they're good at, and that will tell you. It's not about ego. It's not about what other people think they're good at. They'll just tell you. Um, it's not about pleasing anybody else. It's not about what I should be doing. They're unaware of time. They have they'll play outside all day long if that's what's really fulfilling them. And so when I did that, when I followed it, she was actually 9, right? I played Barbies. I played Legos. I did Easy Bake Oven. Fashion show, right? We did all sorts of things that were just fun. And there was no agenda. There was no sense of time. There
So
was,
what you're saying is go either find your 10-year-old or go co-opt somebody's 10-year-old and go spend some time with them.
yeah, because I think you'll look at life through a different lens, and it's just they just get to I think maybe most important about life. They tend to have really close friendships, and they tell, what I loved about spending time with her friends then was that they tell each other what they like about each other. Oh,
Mm.
you have such pretty hair. I really like your mom. And it's just free. It just is a free, they don't worry about, well, am I sending a mixed message? Am I proposing an agenda? They don't think like
So
that.
so so the dude version is that of that is, man, you handled that meeting really well, right? Or, your golf swing, really, I emulated. I would like to learn. So, because dudes have to figure out a way to connect in that fashion.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
And since we're talking about the gender thing, the one thing I did notice about the book is it does have a female voice, a feminine voice. And I was starting to think about that. But when I'm looking at the exercise, I'm looking at each one of the exercises. So in other words, when I walk into a corporation and I'm addressing a group of men and women in the corporate setting, I never say, you really need to tap into your intuition.
Right.
I say, what does your gut say?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let's talk about how you find your gut.
Right.
Right? Let's get rid of the chatter and let's get to your gut. So there's a way of talking to bridge California, if we do air quotes, to corporate life, to what we call real life. But when I looked at all the exercises in the book, they're the exact same exercises that I bring people through, that I would recommend to any dude, any woman, but they're the exercises we need to do. And because it's introspection, I think it is a feminine thing. The male, female. I think there is a male action oriented, female introspection. I think that there is, and I think, and we were talking again before the microphone went on. It's probably easier to get a woman. I'm just so cliche. To curl up with your journal and a glass of wine or a cup of tea and go through these exercises. To get a guy to sit down and actually write this stuff is a little bit tougher, right?
Yeah, I think so. But if you approach it like you would your work, and you were researching a client, for instance, and you wanted to know, if you were an ad exec and you were researching a client, right? You'd want to know what they were all about. And so why can't we do the same work on ourselves? What are you all about? Great way to just dig in and
Boom, man. That what a great confront. Yeah, if you're going to make a sale, you're going to learn about your client.
yep,
Who's your biggest client? You.
yep, yep.
Brilliant. So tell me where they can find this journal.
It's exclusively on Amazon. So, and I just put out the ebook version. So that was a nice step in the right direction. So yeah, it's on Amazon.
The
Midlife.
ebook sounds good. The ebook is great, but I would absolutely buy the paperback book. I would
Yeah.
I would be in relationship with the journal itself.
Well,
There's
we're
something,
showing our age
right?
because we like the,
But there's something real about being tactile,
yeah,
about journaling with a pen and paper instead of typing. There's something about that. The book is called Midlife Wisdom: Looking Back and Moving Ahead, which is just perfect, because taking stock is part of mastering midlife, as far as I'm concerned.
yeah.
Tell me what else you're up to. What else are you bringing out to the world?
Well, my children's book series is a play on the Hardy Boys series, the Farty Boys, and it's sort of, I helped raise my three nephews, and so they're all in their mid-20s now, and so my love of Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, I've translated into the story of Frank and the brothers Frank and Beans and their dog Bacon, and they investigate mysterious smells. So that'll be coming to Amazon soon.
That's so good.
Thanks. I'm trying to get a TED Talk, and thinking, had a lot of people ask me if they want something beyond the midlife wisdom, and so I'm sort of thinking about doing a second one, or a second book of some sort on the same topic, but I haven't quite decided what I'm doing there yet.
It's so interesting because everything that we teach about midlife, you could teach to a teenager, you could teach to a 20-something-year-old. It's just who has the ears to listen, right? who, right when you talk to most 20-year-olds or even 30-year-olds, what's going on is working. They can power through, they can ignore the voice, they can, right, they're still listening to those old childhood motivations, and it's working for them, right?
Yeah.
uh, it isn't until something happens. So midlife can be at 22 years old if you finally wake up and go, oh wait, I'm chasing something that's a myth, right? Midlife is not necessarily old. It's, for me, it's when you wake up and you say, oh, I'm being driven by something automatic. Can I find something authentic?
Yeah, and I do think it happens. It's this mid idea of midlife is it's such a wide range when it happens, and I think that most people don't even they don't even know it's happening until they're on the other side of it, and they know something's going on, but they can't quite they don't know how to navigate it necessarily. So I think the journaling aspect, that helps a lot.
It's key. Like, every single person that I ever talk to, when they ask me advice, I'm like, so do you have a pen and a piece of paper?
Yeah.
Do you have a pen and a piece of paper? It's free. Right.
Yeah.
That's that will be better than paying me. That will be better than going to a workshop. That will, just, and which journal should I buy? I don't care. Just answer the questions, whatever
Right.
questions they're asking. Right. Get introspection. So
Yeah.
where can people find you?
Sharpdifference.com. And there's all sorts of stuff on there. There's some freebie resources, and I worked hard on that website. So go and look at
It's a
my web.
it's a it's a plethora of value. It's really great. We will put that in the show notes. We'll put the link to the book in the show notes. People will be able to follow you, and really, I encourage you to go get this book and do the exercises and let us know what you think. Susan, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Mark.
It was an absolute pleasure. To everybody else, thank you for your precious time and attention. It's not lost on me, and I love you. Have a great rest of the day.